Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Etech's podcast. I am very fortunate to have Matthew with me today. As always, we'll be talking tech, we'll be talking implementation, but it'll more be about implementing tech in real world and what we see happening all around us. Without further ado, I'll pass it on to Matthew to introduce himself and go from there.
Thank you so much, Manu. I appreciate it. I am thrilled to be here with you today. Looking forward to talking about all sorts of things and really honing in on AI. So, I am Matthew Fishbein. I am a 20-year veteran of the contact center industry, most of that time being in a variety of leadership positions in customer service and IT support. And most recently, over the last handful of years of my career, I've really focused in on the learning and development space within contact centers. And so bring a wealth of experience in a number of different industries, ranging from hospitality to healthcare to software as a service. And so I'm excited to be here with you today.
Thank you so much, Matthew. And just for our listeners, something that Matthew doesn't say because he's too kind and humble, but it has been a learning experience every time working with Matthew. We have been working for a while together, and his problem solving approach, his very practical view of looking at AI has always mesmerized me. And that's the reason we have him here today to learn from him how he's able to do all of that. And, as a segue to our question specifically, Matthew, AI has been the hot topic. Everybody's talking about AI right now. I mean, you go anywhere, you find 10 different type of AI companies trying to sell you, right? So one of the key questions that every contact center manager, supervisor, executive has in mind is, how do you see AI transforming our industry? What are some things that you can look forward to in 5 to 10 years in contact center industry?
Absolutely, Manu. And you probably know as well as anyone with the work that you do how important AI is. It's almost amazing how it's exploded recently because it is literally everywhere that you look. Like you said, it is a hot topic of conversation. And what I have found is if you are not embracing AI and at least starting to learn about its capabilities, the world and especially the contact center space is going to start to pass you by because it is now not just this beautiful idea on the horizon. It is our present and it is inevitable. And so, one of the things that I look at when you talk about, how it transforms the industry coming up, really looking at things like emerging technologies. And I know this is something that we'll really dive into in quite a bit, talking about natural language processing models and machine learning and things like that. But, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, if you had said chat GPT, maybe a few people knew what that meant. Maybe a few people did not know what that meant. Now I think it's become very prevalent within the work that we do because AI is taking such a prominent place in all of our different businesses and industries and the way that we do business. And specifically within the contact center world itself, there are a number of different tools. And what I have found is every major platform out there now is starting to incorporate AI in different ways and allowing it to really be centric to what it is that we do in this space. And I think it's become so important as a piece of what we do. And, the accuracy now of like the large language processing models is incredible, especially within the contact center space. Many of the tools that I've seen, we're now achieving accuracy rates on transcription of well over 90%. And so contact center tools are actually catching up with, things like home automation that we're familiar with, your Amazon Alexas and your Google Homes and things like that. I'm curious, Manu, from your perspective, what are you seeing within the Etech world as some of those biggest trends as it relates to, AI and how it's transforming the contact center industry?
Matthew, you said it absolutely right. One of the things that kind of didn't work out for the industry initially 10, 15 years ago was contact centers were exposed to very nascent young natural language models, and what ended up happening was transcription was not right. People looked at it and they were like, hey, machine can't do this, and that's how it went. But things have changed drastically, especially since Google released transformers. So now accuracy is, we are running into an average accuracy of 92% or above anytime we are implementing a customer. We are seeing that the gap that used to be there, that you have to record your calls in stereo, mono doesn't work, and all of that is going away. Plus, we are seeing more and more customers starting to trust AI better. They see the implementation happening. They see that on a universal benchmark of accuracy, you are getting 95% or above every day, not just in transcription, but classification as well. And that's making people trust AI to be able to give them what they need so that they can do the actual job. To put it in perspective, there was this very small, questionnaire or survey of sorts that we did when we reached the benchmark of processing 1 billion interactions last year, and we asked supervisors, agent, what are some things that you would love to see? And there was one key thing that every supervisor and agent said. It was the administrative task that you had to do before you actually reach to the core job. For an example, a supervisor trying to find out things like, hey, who do I coach? What do I coach them on? What is their performance
Right.
like? It used to take them 10, 15 minutes per agent. You are at least supervising 15, 20. Imagine where the time is going. Same thing with agents. So now AI is empowering these roles to ensure that they can do better at what they do. And that's one thing that I've seen. Suddenly the paradigm has shifted from trying to replace things to empowering people. And I think that's the best application of AI that can be out there. Same way, customers are expecting much more now. Customers expect
Absolutely.
you to use AI, expect you to resolve things faster. And
You,
it is just going to go on from there. Yeah.
Without a doubt, it's funny because you mentioned customers expecting AI, and that's sort of what I've been noticing as well, which is an interesting trend and kind of a change in some of our consumer behaviors. I think, like you said, there was a fear of AI at one point because it was unknown and it was scary, and are the machines taking over? But now customers really want to be interacting with different businesses in the ways that they are most comfortable. I think the days of pick up the phone and call and get a customer service representative every single time are really behind us. And customers now want to be met where they are, whether it be phone calls or emails or text messages or online chat, whatever it may be. And AI plays such a big role in that. One of the things I've noticed within the contact center space, people that are using proprietary software. Password resets are a really common call driver in many of our companies. And we're at a point now where clients don't want to have to call in and wait on hold for 10 minutes and just to speak to an agent to go through a back and forth process. How easy is it if you can call in, you can select an option quickly within the IVR that you need to go ahead and change your password, and you have the AI that is intelligent enough to walk you through the process in a matter of seconds. You get your password reset, and then you move on with your day. And I think it's a really beautiful thing in terms of really how that interaction happens and how customers are now able to really solve the problems that they have using the methodologies and the self-service technologies that are really the most important to them.
Absolutely. And you said it right, Matthew. In fact, that was just a perfect, example out there. When you think about it, customers don't want to stay on the line for 10 minutes to reset password. Agents don't want to get the calls where they're just resetting passwords. And if you solve both of these problems, you end up improving your operational efficiencies. Now you
Absolutely.
are not spending time where people are doing the same thing again and again, again and again, which can be done in seconds. So you are seeing the entire, you can think of it as all of this is coming together into one now. You are improving customer experience, you are using practical AI, and you are ensuring your agents are happier, your employees are happier, and all of this is actually helping you improve operations efficiency. Sounds like, I got my first wish from the genie, literally.
Absolutely, right? Like, as you said, when I think about operational efficiency, this is a personal experience that I've had just within the last month. So my team is currently implementing a new resource management tool. So within the learning and development space, it can be very difficult to track time for our team members because we don't have a usual cadence of doing things within the L&D space. You're a lot of project-based work with odd shaped chunks of time. I almost think of it as a game of Tetris. And so as we're implementing this resource management tool, one of the things that I needed to do is I needed to basically build out a methodology and a process for how we were going to use the tool, what were going to be the categories of how we capture time. I wanted it to be robust enough that it was going to give us great data, but I wanted it to be simple enough that it wasn't going to be a huge time investment for our team members. I sat down and I said, it's going to take me hours to put together a model for what this is supposed to look like. And I'm going to have to research project management best practices. And then the light bulb went off and I said, okay, I've got Microsoft Copilot at my fingertips. It's a new tool that we've just implemented in our organization. Let me give it a shot. Manu, I am not kidding. The entire exercise was done in under 30 seconds. Blew my mind. I had the entire framework of what we needed. It gave me enough content that I was able to train my own team in a way that was simple for them. And it was incredible. And, that's just one example of how, for me as a leader within the industry, I'm able to save time. But even for my team, we're exploring how do we leverage AI to create training. Right now, we have a very traditional model where I have instructional designers that are using great tools that are available in the marketplace, but it's all done manually. So what we're really diving into now is what are the tools that are out there that can actually take, let's say, a bank of 100 or 1,000 call recordings, ingest them, learn what it is that our call drivers are for the organization, and immediately create training materials that we can use in the classroom with new hires and be able to educate them on the things that they need to know most. And we're looking at taking some of our current work that might take hours upon hours, reduce it down to minutes, and that will allow the amazing members of my team to really put their skills to use on higher level tasks that maybe we don't want to rely on AI for quite yet. And so it's really cool how that's helping to build out operational efficiency.
Yeah, and Matthew, when you think about it, both the examples that you just provided, both the times people were empowered and not replaced. And that's one thing that, we all need to kind of understand now when it comes to AI specifically. You would have spent hours building that and then trying to solve, once you built it, then you solve the problem. Now you have what you need and you can focus on solving problem that humans do much better, right? Same
Absolutely.
way, if your team gets to build that curriculum, goes through the entire exercise and then implements it, by the time they reach problem solving stage, if you look at it in effort cycle, you have spent like 40-50% of the effort already. So this is how, these are some amazing use cases, Matthew. Thank you so much. Where we can see that AI is actually empowering the people who are expert at solving the problems in their verticals and trying to do it
Without a
right.
doubt. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. So I'm curious then from your aspect, I'm sure many of the listeners to this podcast are thinking, okay, that sounds beautiful. It sounds great. That is wonderful. But there's still got to be challenges and opportunities, right? There's no way that this technology is perfect yet. And it's not. I'm curious from your perspective, as an industry leader, what are you seeing as some of the, those initial challenges that we're still facing with AI in order to fully implement it in our environments?
Matthew, that's a question that, when you think about it, now that AI has built that trust into the technology itself, you are seeing people trying to dive in head first without really understanding what are the problems that I really need to solve. I've had, companies looking to just acquire AI without understanding, what AI will actually do for them.
Yeah.
And, just have to have a shiny piece of AI on the shelves of their tech stack specifically. And there are multiple, but this is one of the biggest, hurdle that we are seeing. If you want to implement AI, just automate stuff because you think it's going to save money, you can't start with the approach that it's going to save you money. What you have to start with is, hey, these are the key problems that I'm looking to resolve. Here is how my customers will benefit from it. And saving money or gaining operational efficiency is a byproduct that you are very happy with, but that can't be your goal. And there are so many companies trying to sell you these shiny AI toys right now. And that's where I see one of the biggest challenge happening. What about you? What do you see in the market right now, Matthew?
It's a great question, Manu. And I think you're completely right in the way that you really have to invest and commit to the process. So I've noticed a couple of different things as it relates to AI. The first one is, and it relates very closely to what you were saying, it is not, you're not buying a toaster where you put your bagel in, you set it, you walk away, you come back 10 minutes later and it's toasty and ready to go. There is a learning curve that comes with AI, both for the actual technology itself and the way the AI has to learn your environment, but also for we on the human sides, we have to learn how to leverage it and we have to learn how to use it. And so what it's really doing within our workplace, it is changing the skill sets that many of our team members are required to have, because it's not just a set it and forget it. It really is about learning the technology. And so prompt engineering is really a big piece of what I'm seeing as, I wouldn't call it a hurdle, but certainly a learning challenge that we have to face. You know, I use the term prompt engineering. That may still be a very new term for a lot of people, but basically prompt engineering is almost the art of understanding and how to go in and give commands and directions to the AI so that it will deliver exactly what you're looking for. Very subtle changes in words can lead to very different outcomes in what it is that you receive. So I think really going through the training cycle now and having people understand this is how I teach the AI is going to be increasingly more important and something that's going to become very much more prevalent in the business and the work that we do. I think one other thing that I see a lot about is data privacy. You know, cybersecurity is a major issue when it comes to technology across the world. We have seen, especially here in the United States, in the last 6 months, some pretty significant outages with different technologies. I'm thinking about one that was in the auto industry that almost shut the industry down for a day or two. And so that's something that we need to be aware of. To your point, there are a lot of solutions that are out there right now. There are new companies popping up left and right, creating this great AI tool and this great AI tool. And I think what it's really important for us to do as business professionals is go through the due diligence of ensuring that the solutions that we're investing in and utilizing truly are safe and secure within our environments. I know the organization that I'm a part of, we have a very robust security review board process where they look at every new tool that we are bringing in and they make sure that it meets our minimum standards so that we are always protecting our own information, our clients' information, proprietary secrets, things like that, because you never want those getting out. Is that something that you've seen in different customers that you've worked with? Are you seeing that same challenge?
Oh, absolutely, Matthew. In fact, you hit it exactly right. So I'm going to tell you a story. My mentor and my leader, Jim Ayub, 2 years back when GPT was being released, we realized that, this is something that we can utilize and we have a lot of expertise in it. He called me and he said, Manu, one thing we have to make sure is I'm not sending data out of Etech. Whatever we build, you build it. We will do everything within our teams and we will ensure our customers' data is protected because that will be our key priority, even if it takes time. And that vision led us to today where every model that we have built is completely secure within only customer's instance. It's not plugged into anything at all out there. It's completely air gapped. In fact, the base model doesn't even have capabilities to learn. It doesn't cache anything. And what that has done is once we built it and we started talking to people, we realized that it was extremely interesting. Our enterprise customers were suddenly like, oh, you know what? This is the first thing. In fact, we were some of the first AI vendors approved at Fortune 10, Fortune 50 companies in America just because of this. Because,
That's incredible.
we kept, not only did we keep the data secure, but we also built an explainable stage to it where you could see exactly the decisions being made. If you see biases, you are able to control it. And that helped us ensure that customers trust in the AI first. And as you were saying, right now, maybe customers don't understand, some customers don't understand that data privacy is something that they should look at. But then companies who might try to take advantage of it, they also need to understand that if people are not looking for a data privacy oriented model, they are certainly not looking for a model where, which was part of a leak list. So you need to ensure your customers' data is secure one way or the other. And you're absolutely right, Matthew. We are seeing this trend and data privacy is key. Data privacy is key because not only are you or as an enterprise customer, any customer, they are looking to ensure that their data is safe. But the end customer, when you talk about B2B, end customers don't want their data out there. One of the key things that we did to ensure that this never happens, the first layer of any integrations we put in place is a redaction model. redacts PHI, PSCI, PII before it ever reaches to any model, let alone a human being. So now you have multiple ways you are protecting customers' data to ensure that you're building things right, looking for those biases, because biases will be there. You can always reduce hallucination to 0% as much as you can as you improve context window, but I digress. But at the same time, you will always have to ensure that your customers' data is protected. And what this has done is, now this has ensured that there is a new way of collaboration that people are comfortable with. Agents on
Without
floor
a
are
doubt.
comfortable with real-time agent assist because they understand what it's doing. Customers are very comfortable talking to an AI and trying to understand when they can get the refund or where their order is at, or reset password, instead of trying to talk to a human being because that's what they were used to. I'm not saying people don't want to talk to people. There are still cases like a very complex billing issue that you want to discuss. You don't want an AI to have that conversation with, but those are getting lesser and lesser. We have customers where even personal things or very important things like disaster recovery is now being trusted with AI, and customers are responding well because they know in time of need I'm going to get a response in seconds, instead of somebody
Absolutely.
picking up, me being on a queue and then getting that information. So yes, when we talk about challenges, Matthew, I think to sum all of it up, we would say that implementation is the key challenge. How do you manage change internally? As you said, educating people on what is AI, how to use AI is very important. Ensuring that your data is private and you are not sharing your data outside your cloud. I'm not going to talk too much about it. There are companies, yes, but you know what you know. And then last is, all of this is helping you build that collaboration up. But you have to ensure that people do not fear AI. And
Without a doubt.
as human, we only fear things that we don't understand. So as long as you manage change, I hope that doesn't happen.
I agree. Putting in the time and the investment to learn about, the tools that are out there, make sure that you're selecting the right ones for you and for your organization that will really advance your objectives is so important. And, you mentioned enhanced collaboration. It makes me think a little bit. I was actually in preparing for our chat today, I was talking to a coworker yesterday that recently got to attend an LMS conference, a learning management system, for a tool that we're implementing here within our organization. And from the collaboration perspective, one of the things that they're looking at doing to really be able to help out our agents within the contact center space, if you think about right now, agents or even clients, you go into a learning system and you've got hundreds, if not thousands of hours of e-learning courses that contain amazing and wonderful information. But sometimes you don't want to have to dig through and find the right course to get the answer that you're looking for a problem in the moment. And so they're actually releasing something called AI Neural Search, which is basically, you almost think of it as like your Google toolbar or your search bar, where within the LMS itself, when you're a user, you go in and you just type out the question that you want the answer to. How do I build a custom report in this particular product? And within seconds, it actually gives you the answer to your question and the resource, that the e-learning that was part of where that answer came from. So if you want to learn more, you have someplace to go, but you now have that answer at your fingertips. And that kind of advancement in AI that we're seeing more and more become commonplace, that is really another place where we're seeing opportunities to move into the future with these tools.
Absolutely. And Matthew, I'm so proud of something that we have developed very recently that I just can't stop not talk about it. So taking that specific use case, actually taking your knowledge base, taking the information that your organization has accumulated over the year, we call this actually wisdom. That
Okay.
And it's always segmented, right? Some departments would have their information. Some people will be SMEs. Some other departments will have their information. What we have done is we have taken all of it, put it into a centralized knowledge base, and then also taken the conversations that you are having with your customers. And now you can actually talk to QL and ask it things like, hey, how are my customer reacting to this new offer? And QL tells you exactly how customers are reacting. And you can follow that question up by saying, hey, so what can I do to coach agents here to see a better reaction. For an example, customers don't know much about it or much is not being discussed. And QL will actually understand the conversation, come back to you and tell you, hey, these are some key things that you can do. And it was built with exactly what you said, that vision in mind. We have so much knowledge, but getting into it takes time. AI is helping us reduce that curve that goes in understanding, learning everything, and then being an expert by being able to ask things.
Absolutely. Well, I love that example. And as we're sitting here talking, I'm thinking about, within my world as well, what are some of the success stories that we've seen or that maybe that we've heard about, how AI helps the customer experience. And similar to what you just mentioned with QEval, we, within our company a couple of years ago, we also implemented a quality assurance tool for very similar reasons and looking for similar outcomes to what you were just mentioning. And what we did is we basically took this quality assurance model where previously everything that we did was manual, and we were looking at how much knowledge of our products do our team members have, and how are their soft skills, and are they using the proper greeting when talking to our clients. And it took up to an hour to complete an evaluation for an agent. And in an organization like ours, where we have literally hundreds of agents, we had a small army of quality analysts, and we were barely able to complete 4 evaluations per month for each of these agents. So we looked into AI-based solutions for quality assurance. Once we implemented it, and we were able to train the model to understand what our requirements were, and that was one of the beautiful things about it. I know QEval does a similar thing. You cater it to the needs of each individual business. It's not the machine telling you what good quality looks like. We put the input in, and it gives us the results back. By doing this, we were able to start evaluating 100% of our inbound calls. And we went from maybe a few hundred to a few thousand reviews of agents per month to over 100,000 per month. And it's almost mind-blowing, because all of a sudden, agents had insights on their performance that they could actually trust. Before, if you just saw 4 evaluations on your performance, maybe we happened to randomly select a great call. Maybe it was I was having a bad day, so it wasn't the best reflection of who I am. But now that we're looking at total performance, I really understand how I'm performing, and that allows us to translate it to the customer experience. So we're in a world now where our CSAT scores are probably the highest that they've ever been. We're consistently in the high 80s and the 90s, because our agents are more in tune with their actual performance and connecting with our clients in a way that really makes a difference for them.
Absolutely. And that's a great success story, Matthew, when you think about it. And that's a perfect segue to actually talking about some of the success stories that we have seen in the world. And that was a great example. Same way we are seeing even at Etech side, we are seeing that once you start implementing AI, there are things that you start optimizing that gives you return where you're not expecting. To put it in perspective, when you talk about customer service or CX, it has always been the dark horse. Nobody expects money out of it. People just expect, okay, it's a money guzzler. I have to have people just to provide support and everything. And what we saw with the very recent implementation was, not only was customer able to get better CSAT, because now they were listening to 100% conversations, and they had much more information on who to coach, what to coach on, what are some key opportunities you are seeing, and what are the key next best action that an agent can take themselves. So what we saw was feedback, which is very confrontational when it comes to contact center specifically, because you look at an evaluation, you see a supervisor walking over, and you know what's going to happen. Actually
Yeah.
became something where agents appreciated it, because nobody was delivering the bad news. You were looking at 100% of your conversation and getting a summary saying, hey, you are amazing, these things are being done very well, but let's look at these ones, and what can we do to actually get you to be better, earn more, deliver better.
Sure.
Right? And what we ended up seeing was, within 6 months, from a customer service campaign, only taking calls, not trying to sell anything, upsell anything, the customer was actually able to save $2.9 million.
Wow.
We currently stand at almost 7 million, and it's just going to go up from there. And all of that happens without anybody being replaced.
Absolutely.
So
I think
yeah,
that's yeah. Go ahead now. Go.
Yeah, I was saying you're right. AI has applications that, specifically in contact center industry, that are much beyond just trying to replace people or trying to replace things, but can actually help your customers understand how much you value them. But your agents understand also that you're looking to empower them. We are seeing CSATs being extremely high. We are seeing first call resolutions improving because you just understand your conversations better now, right? It's not really even about a magic pill. It's about ensuring you understand what your customers are expecting.
Without a doubt. And I love that because I think you're so right. It is not about using AI to replace humans. It is about using AI in ways that enhance your business so that the humans that are part of the culture and the core of what you do are able to focus in new and exciting areas and really challenge themselves in ways that maybe AI isn't going to be there to help you out with. You know, we all have complex problems and needs within our businesses, within our contact centers, even within our client interactions that you really still want that human element. But as we also mentioned earlier, a large part of this is now shifting the skill sets of the team members that we have. And, you know, maybe before they were really focused on problem solving very easy issues that you may get in a call or an email from a client. But now it's about how do I leverage AI in order to be able to handle some of these call drivers at scale, or to be able to really go in there and deliver complex solutions to some of our more challenging problems. And so I love doing that. I saw an article recently about a large financial services company, we'll call it. And one of the things that they did is for their wealth managers, they gave them all AI assistants that were going to be there to help answer common questions for their clients. So something like, how do I open a bank account? And they trained their AI on all of their internal documentation and processes. And what they saw was their customer satisfaction went up because of it, because now these wealth managers are able to focus on really understanding their clients and adding value in new and different ways. And some of those more basic questions, which really don't require a human to answer, that can very easily be translated by using an AI-based tool, they now had that in place for them. So the team members were happier because they're now able to really use their brains and rely on the skills and the things they enjoy doing the most. And the clients were happier because they were getting quick answers without waiting to the simple questions. And they now had reliable team members to speak to for the more complex needs that they had in their life.
Absolutely. And Matthew, that's, I love what you're talking about, because this is one thing that, our listeners would be very interested in as well. The use case that you just talked about is a very prevalent and common use case of AI, where you are taking a generalized model, but then making it narrow enough that it can solve one problem and do it very well, like wealth managers,
Yes.
right? Exact same thing. So, in fact, the way we see this trend going, we were earlier talking about 5 to 10 years. One thing which will be very clear in 5 to 10 years is there'll be experts. We call it MOE, mixture of experts. You will have very narrow models working expertly on one key problem to solve, and all of them together will form a solution that you can look at. And of course, then it can go to agentic and so on. But instead of using a generalized model, trying to get a lot of things done by them, it's better to have a NCM, as we call it internally, or narrow conversation model, or like some people call it SLM, small language model. Those will be the key. They will end up solving the problems. It won't be one generalized model. Even if you achieve super intelligence, I think it'll be narrow models who will actually make a difference for enterprises. And that's the future. As long as your model is very clear what the role is, it's using its resources to solve that one problem, you are actually able to remove one of the key aspects of large language models, the elephant in the room, that is hallucination, and ensure that you're able to get the results that you expect without actually worrying too much about it. And that's a perfect segue into my next question for you, Matthew. When you think about all of this, right, we have been talking about AI, and we went through some of the examples we have seen, we went through some of the things that we are seeing in the market. What do you see currently? What are some advice that you would give to the current contact center leaders who want to implement AI but just don't know where to start, what to do?
Absolutely. I think it's a really great question. And based on the experience that I've gained and the trends that I'm seeing within the industry, the one thing I go back to, and I share this message with my team all the time, is the importance of having an AI strategy and really understanding that whether you like it or not, AI is the future. And hopefully most of us like it and want to embrace it. But if you don't embrace it, somebody else will. And the advancement was going to start to pass you by. And I think that is so important. We are not in a space anymore where AI is a take it or leave it kind of option. I think we're moving more into a world where AI is going to become the norm and you start to fall behind the curve. And so really that's a strong piece of advice that I give to contact center leaders. It is okay if you have not yet explored AI. We are still fairly early in the curve, but take a look at the world around us and take a look at what's happening. If you haven't started, now is the time to start, because if you don't, 2, 3, 4 years from now, you're going to look back and you're going to wonder, why are all of these other contact centers providing superior support in more efficient, cost-effective ways, and I'm not there yet? And so now really is the time to start looking. And I challenge leaders to really take a hard look at your business. I think sometimes we take a lot of pride in the work that we do, and we want to think that we're flawless and the way that we do things is perfect and there are not reasons to change. We all have opportunities to improve. We all have ways to get better. So whether you've never used AI or if AI is at the heart of what you're doing, continue to solicit that feedback from your customers, from your employees. Really give your business a hard look and see, where can I use AI to enhance but not replace the manual work that we're also doing within our teams. So I think that's extremely important. And one other thing that I would say that is very important that I've learned within my organization: lean into project management. Over this course of this conversation, Manu, you and I have talked about, the many different layers of everything that needs to be done. You need to understand the business case and what it is that your financial objectives are. You need to lean into data privacy and understand, what is it that I'm doing, what am I using, and make sure that it's secure. And then, of course, there's the actual tactics of implementing it, going through change management curves within your team members and your client base. There are so many elements to this. It is really beneficial that if you have a strong project management professional, or even if you don't have somebody on your team with a PMP, somebody that you can rely on to document all the milestones, put together a solid project plan and a proposal on what it is that you hope to accomplish, it will really help to make sure that at the end of the day, there's congruence between your desired outcomes and your project objectives, and you reach the finish line in the way that you want to reach it.
Absolutely. And that's very true, actually, Matthew. When you think about it, you can only implement AI successfully if you can manage change successfully. So yes, when you talk about it, you have to lean into project management, ensure that you have clear layers of implementation built in with clear expectations and clear change management processes. In fact, since we were talking about it, one thing that I see in the market right now is some of the contact centers are actually afraid of AI because it's always been butts in the seat conversation. It's always been, hey, 200 seats, 700 seats, 800 seats. And one thing that I saw very unique about Etech from the day when I joined was that it was never about seats. It was about solving people's problem, even if that meant you will only get 50 out of 100. That was really not an issue. And Etech actually taught me this trusted advisor model that focused more on customer success and long-term benefit instead of what can I get tomorrow. And that's what contact centers actually need to learn right now. If you are afraid of AI, you will not implement it. 5 years down the line, you will regret it. But if you embrace it, move towards model that makes you successful over the long term, because now you are using AI to solve your customer's problem. Because AI is here. Let's make no mistakes. It's not future anymore. It's here. It's being used every day in real world. And if you are still not there, you still have some time, but not too long. And as my mentor Jim Ayub says, well, AI is not going to replace anybody. But if you don't learn AI, you will be replaced. So yes, Matthew, I really appreciate this conversation today. Anything that you would like to tell our listeners before we wrap up?
The last thing, and it really stems off of something that you just said, I can promise for our listeners, even if you are currently scared or afraid of AI, because it can be intimidating and there's a lot of information out there and it is a very big world. But what I have seen without a doubt with everyone I've talked to, once you take the time to bite off little bits and start to learn about it and dabble in it just a tad, it is so cool, Manu. Like, I cannot tell you the number of moments I have had in the last year while I'm like, wow, like what these tools can do, it's just mind blowing. So for anyone that is out there that is afraid to get started, that is intimidated by it or is hesitant, give it a try. Start in a very small way, and your mind will be blown by how incredible it is that the outcomes you're receiving based on the capabilities of this tool. It is just cool is the one way that I can describe what AI is all about, because it really is special in what it's doing to transform the way that we live and the way that we work every day.
Thank you so much, Matthew. That's actually very right. It's just about starting. If you start today, you are starting and you will get there for sure. Matthew, I cannot appreciate enough the time that you have provided us today. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge with us.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate that. And with that, listeners, we will see you in our next episode. Thank you so much. Please drop any feedback that you have for us and we will ensure that we look at it. Thank you, everyone. You guys have a great day.